In media, relationships are very often portrayed as this perfect, beautiful thing where no matter where you look, you can't find a single blemish. But in doing that, they don't capture the true nature of relationships. Relationships aren't always this positive, beautiful expression of people. Sometimes they are grotesque. Sometimes they are unstable. And sometimes they don't end on a high note. As per many of your requests, today we are going to be exploring Kitanai Kimi ga Ichiban Kawaii in the unspoken horrors of romance. What happens when you lose it all? What happens when you have no one else? And what happens when you can't take it anymore? And beyond all of that, when does something become eternal? That's what we'll be exploring in today's video. If you're new here and you enjoy this video at any points, please be sure to like and subscribe. That would absolutely mean the world. I'm trying to hit 10K by the end of this year. And with that said, everyone, let's begin. The story begins in a pretty standard manner. Two girls running, one reaching her hand out offering support, encouraging the other to try her best. All in all, it's not strange. I'd even go as far as saying that the intro lures you into a false sense of security. But it's not until the following scene where we're introduced to the characters. The girl reaching her hand out is Sasaki Idy. Immediately, Idy is established as the smart type, placing at the top of her grade time and time again, giving her a pretty straightforward impression. As the class progresses, with Idy's group of friends being loud and talkative, for a split moment every so often, a character enters the frame, but immediately after is either avoided or not given any attention. That character is the second girl we see in the first frame, Hinako Hanamura. From the consumption of 2 lunchboxes and the occasional glimpses from Idy, we can infer that there's something deeper to their connection than the story wants to give credit for. The two never directly interact during school hours, but when the school day comes to an end, in an empty classroom devoid of all presence aside from Hanamura, Idy approaches her, undresses her, then pushes down on her stomach, making her throw up both of the 2 lunches that she ate, both being prepared by Idy specifically for this moment. I want to make her suffer. How cute. That is the intro to this grotesque manga. I'm sure those of you still watching who are yet to read this manga might be shocked. You know, I was shocked too. The first chapter comes in the form of whiplash. It seems innocent, from the art style to the cheery dialogue, then the switch. But this whiplash is part of what makes the story so good. Idy and Hanamura's relationship is strange, but the question is, how exactly did it reach this point? In the beginning, way back when in middle school, it started with Idy interacting with Hanamura, donned the cutest girl in her class, as a means of making her school life more dazzling. The two would grow very close, going to festivals together, karaoke, out to eat, and eventually, Hanamura's feelings would change. She'd feel deeply for Idy, not just as a friend, but a lover. And this is where we see Idy's warped mindset. Since middle school, Idy has viewed relationships as something to either benefit or lose from. In the case of Hanamura, short for Hina, which is what we'll be referring to her as, she's already benefited from having her by her side. It's very disturbing. Despite everything, all the times they went out together, all the times they've hung out, Idy has no specific feelings for Hina. After everything, her heart never wavers. It's a perspective deeply rooted in control. How far can I go? How much will she let me do? If she gets attached enough, she won't leave. It's manipulation at its finest, and in short, that is Idy. The scene we saw before with Idy pushing down on Hina's stomach was the beginning. From that point onward, after seeing what Hina would allow her to get away with, her requests would become much more embarrassing and gross. But I've accepted them all, because being wanted by Ai-chan makes me so incredibly happy. Reading this, it's incredibly sad to see. In the start, Hina is really just an innocent girl. She wants to be desired, she wants to be loved, and for that to happen, she needs to heed the request of the girl she cherishes dearly, no matter how disturbing, no matter how disgusting. Hina, to a certain degree, holds Idy on a pedestal, and she's under the impression that she feels the exact same way. And can you blame her? Idy is always telling her, I'll pay more attention to you from now on, so don't hold back. You're my number one. You'll always be my number one. It's also for this reason why, even though they exist in different worlds in relation to the school hierarchy, they can still coexist. Hina deeply believes that Idy needs her, and Idy has her wrapped around her finger. Idy's fetishes enacted on Hina would continue, blindfolding her to relish in her anxiety, giving her the most painful piercing sheerly on a whim, dangling her out the window. But in the middle of it, she's caught. Now, let me ask you guys, all of these acts, no matter how you look at it, would generally be considered bad, especially in a public setting. What do you think would happen if someone oversaw this? Needless to say, it wouldn't be a good outcome. Now, before we continue with that, for a very brief moment, I want to pause the continuation of the story and focus on Chapter 6. In Chapter 6, Idy has Hina dress up as a baby, and they do everything. Breastfeeding, cuddling, all of it. But the part I really want to put emphasis on is the part where Idy realizes that Hina isn't in pain, but rather she's enjoying the physicality between the two of them. She's enjoying indulging in Irie, she's enjoying being close to Idy. And when confronted by Hina's love firsthand, by all means, Idy rejects it. She's annoyed that Hina is craving her. She's annoyed that Hina isn't miserable. Idy is so warped that things like children, having a lover, it doesn't matter as long as she has Hina. Not because Hina is this super special figure in her life, but because Hina allows her to get whatever she wants. I really wanted to highlight this. I really wanted to put this in the video because this is the sick and twisted mindset of Idy. In following the baby events, when Hina opens her locker, she's greeted by a handful of pictures along with a note saying disgusting and I saw everything. They have been completely seen, and we actually know by who, but let's rewind a bit since I got sidetracked. The one who caught Idy and Hina is a girl from the same friend group as Hina. Her name is Yoshimi. Yoshimi thus far has been a character with not much attention put on her. She's been, for the most part, in the background. However, we're not informed of her motive immediately. That's something we'll see in the next few chapters. But returning to the story, since Hina was sent the notes, she has chosen to keep them a secret from Idy. But at the same time, when they're doing all these things in the empty classroom, the thought of, what if someone sees this? Then what? It's a lingering thought in her head that she eventually needs to tell Idy. Each time they do something, the messages, followed by a picture, continue, until it reaches the point where the messages are more so threats. I'll expose you, things like that. It reaches the point where she needs to tell Idy, which she does. She tells Idy that they need to stop doing these things, and Idy, being Idy, kind of warps Hina's words. Rather than acknowledging Hina's concern for not only herself, but Idy as well, she chalks it down to, if you hate this, then just say so. Idy doesn't intend to listen, so Hina just hands her the pictures and notes that she's been receiving, and immediately, Idy starts spiraling. She starts questioning her reputation. She starts thinking of ways to get out of this situation. But the most disgusting part of her thoughts was the fact that almost immediately, she thought to scapegoat off Hina. What if she pinned all the blame on her? Though she couldn't do that, given that there are multiple pictures of her being the main conspirator, it's the fact that the thought even crossed her mind. It goes to show just how much she really does care for Hina deep down, and it's so sad to see. The situation is scarce. Neither Idy or Hina can do anything. All they can do is just not be seen together anymore. Idy realizes that and enacts upon it with no hesitation, leaving Hina completely behind. Now, for a brief moment, the story switches from our characters to Yoshimi, the girl who has been stockpiling evidence, and she gets explored a bit more in the following chapters. And as for her motive, why she's threatening instead of just reporting this to the school, it's because she hates them both. But more importantly, she loves Yu, another girl in the same friend group as Hina. Rather than love, it even borders idolization. I'd go as far to say that this is even kind of addiction. She doesn't like Yu being around people like Hina. She believes that Yu will be, as she put it, quote-unquote, spoiled in their presence. And for the next few chapters, Idy and Hina's life progresses separately as they need to distance themselves. So for the sake of time, we will skip this portion and continue the story. In chapter 11, this is where things pick up. In the middle of reading during class, Idy gets a text asking if this is her, followed by a picture of some event with Hina. This means that the stuff is already being leaked. Hina and Idy are moving on a timer here until they are exposed. What I find to be so strange about all of this is Idy's attitude that continually deepens the coldness of her character. Idy believes that she is innocent. She believes that she's the victim here, when in reality, that's not true. It never has been true. Hina is the victim, being subject to Idy's various kinks and demands. In fact, Idy goes full victimization mode, trying to capitalize off the public's perception of her character, saying things like, everyone who knows her knows that she wouldn't bully anyone, and quote-unquote how bad she feels for Hina. But not even her victimization act works. At this point, the photos have been spread outside of just her class. Now other classes are involved. Everybody knows about the things that she did with Hina. And rather than trying to save face, rather than coming clean, Idy keeps trying to make herself believe that she's the victim, trying to pin the blame on whoever. From trying to scapegoat off Hina to blaming the person spreading the images, Idy does everything but take accountability. And beyond anything, that will be her downfall in the next few chapters. At this point, Idy's reputation is in the dirt. She went from being the smart, cute, innocent bratty type to being a flat-out bully. Meanwhile, Hina, who I haven't talked about for a bit, is kind of spiraling in her own unique way as well. This whole time, they've been out of contact, but Hina can think of nothing besides Idy. When Idy threw up, in shock from the photos that first leaked, Hina relished in that moment. When Idy reads her text, she takes that as a sign that Idy still wants to have contact. Needless to say, Idy doesn't want any of these things or care about Hina, but she's so far gone in her love, which at this point is bordering obsession for Idy, that even the reality of the world isn't the truth for her. She wants to be with Idy again, to hug Idy again, to eat the lunches again. But Idy is fed up. She's tired of Hina trying to make something work between them despite everything. So she lashes out, requesting that Hina never talks to her again. Both characters, in their own ways, are spiraling. Idy has lost it all, and while Hina is generally clean as far as reputation goes, she's still in distress due to not being able to speak with Idy. But in chapter 13, after Hina reaches into her bag and gets stabbed by an intentionally placed shard of glass, Yu finally speaks up and breaks the silence that the class has been resisting. She believes that the culprit is Idy, and this segues into the photos that have been leaking. There is no hiding the truth. Everybody knows it, even Idy's friends know it. Those pictures aren't faked, it isn't someone else, it is Idy. Doesn't matter the reason, doesn't matter how they publicly appeared, Idy bullied Hina, and in the eyes of the public, she's still actively targeting her. Idy is fully broken down. Her victimization act is called out. The lie that Idy and Hina created is called out. It's all too much, so Idy once again lashes out, hitting Hina, screaming at her, and with a subtle apology to not Hina, but Hanamura, the curtain on their school life closes with Idy, the former smart, cute, innocent girl's reputation being cast away, losing it all. A week passes, and Idy hasn't shown up to school once. I mean, really, how could she after everything? So Hina, despite being told by Idy herself not to come, goes to check on her. And it goes about exactly how you'd expect. She tells Hina to leave, but Hina, still head over heels for Idy, makes sure to tell her that even if she doesn't want to go back to school, she'll always be there. But those words alone are enough to send Idy into another fit of rage, completely and utterly beating Hina. That message should have been enough, but it wasn't. Hina is instead elated that Idy paid attention to her, even if it was in the form of abuse. And though Idy rejected her in the start, after consistent visits, she would gradually begin opening up to Hina, but every time it would end up the same. Hina's clinginess would bring back memories of what happened to the surface, along with the reality of her situation, always resulting in Idy lashing out. Even as she said it herself, it's a vicious cycle. A cycle of uncontrollable rage. She feels as though everyone around her has betrayed her. And we can see from this that in a lot of ways, she has sort of internalized her victimization act. A part of Idy genuinely believes that she did nothing wrong, that she is the victim. And the fact that Hina is able to roam scot-free while she is instead exiled is irritating to her. All she can do, all she wants to do, is take her anger out on Hina. And there, right in the middle of choking Hina out, trying to kill her, Hina confesses her feelings, that she loves Idy. Through and through, Hina loves Idy. Even when she's filthy, even when she's broken, distressed, or at her best, she still loves her the same. And it's here that the dynamic of the story is flipped. Idy is no longer in control. It's Hina. Idy has nothing anymore but her. And though everything is a product of Idy's own decisions, I can't deny that reading some of these chapters is depressing. Idy has absolutely no will to live. She has no will to change. She doesn't want to go outside. She doesn't want to socialize. And the best way I can put it, it feels as though she's a human doll. Whether or not she wants to, she acts on Hina's whims. Whatever Hina wants, she'll end up getting out of her, whether Idy wants to give it or not. Chapter 17 is a muddled mess. Idy is visibly scared of Hina. She's scared of the full extent of her love. She thinks she's crazy, she thinks she's scary. But at the same time, once more, she's all that she has. If Hina leaves, there's nothing left. It's disturbing. But Hina truly bends Idy to her will, forcing her to kiss her, forcing her to tell her that she loves her, while threatening to leave all the while, breaking her down while embracing her. It is a mess born of love. Around this point, it's been about a month since Idy stopped going to school, but while waiting for Hina to return, one of the girls in her previous friend group, Ichika, sends her a message, basically saying that she wants to see Idy again, but we, the audience, know that she doesn't have good intentions. She wants to relish in Idy's condition. She wants to make enjoyment out of her suffering. But Idy, clinging to the idea that maybe, just maybe, Ichika really does have good intentions, invites her over to her house behind Hina's back. And once she does visit, once Idy leaves the room, she installs a camera planning to observe her and see what exactly it is she spends her days doing. But, well, Hina already did that. So while Idy is keeping the fact that she met up with Ichika a secret, Hina already knows but is just letting it play out. We later learn that she did this so that Idy would love her even more, so that it'll hammer into Idy's brain that she can't trust anyone but Hina. And at the end of chapter 21, we see Hina exhibit a trait very notorious to Idy, that being seeing people as tools and devices that can be used and abused, information. Idy viewed people as beneficial versus not beneficial, while Hina is instead viewing Idy as a tool to manipulate. Depending on how she uses Ichika's presence, she can manipulate Idy into certain manners, and above all, she can make her more dependent on her. Hina succeeds in her goal to manipulate Idy. Idy now fully understands, or at least fully believes, that there's nobody else she can trust besides Hina, so keeping that in mind, she wants to run away. She doesn't want to go home, to school, or anywhere. She just wants to be somewhere else entirely with Hina. So following her request, Idy and Hina run away, leaving all of it behind. And as depressing as it is, for the first time it seems, Idy and Hina truly have fun together. The sight of the snow, eating somewhere different, talking about their future, it feels like we're observing a different pair during the extent of this trip. But if only everything were as peaceful as it seemed. While Hina views this as a trip, Idy views this as the last stop. There is no going back. And you know what, you guys? I'm sure you've experienced it. I've experienced it. But after you've gone through so much for an extended period of time, when you finally relax, the truth naturally flows out. We see that with Idy. Hina, I'm sorry. I've loved being with you since day one, paired with a soft expression in her eyes. It's hard to believe Idy, it really is, but there was nothing fueling the words leaving her mouth besides her own truth. I didn't notice this my first time reading, perhaps due to the intensity of this manga towards the end, but Idy does speak for her heart even if momentarily. It's like this change of location brought forth some more within her. And let me clarify, I don't condone anything Idy has done. For that matter, I don't condone anything that anyone in this manga has done, but I find this portion to be beautiful, and I always have. There's no more lying, there's no more putting up fronts, there's no more throwing each other under the bus. It's soft, it's subtle, yet it's deep. It's very deep. But as we approach the end of this story, I want to remind you guys of something. There is a certain reality to running away. No matter where you go, no matter where you are, you need money. To continue existing, you need a consistent amount of funds. Something that Idy and Hina had been burning through. And when the funds run out, there's nothing left. No home, no food, no nothing. So to put it simply, there is a timer ticking on this expedition. Hina and Idy both know that deep down. As Hina's mind begins shifting towards the issue of their money, Idy's eyes no longer glow, as if the reality of what they're doing has set in. And then, again, the cycle repeats. Memories of how she's seen return. The spiraling returns. No matter how far they go, this will always be their reality. Before her mind can get worse, before any of this for that matter can get worse, Idy proposes a proposition. They both die together, but even then, she can't do it. She doesn't truly want to die. Even though they went this far away from everything, every day is still the same. Still in the same cycle of spiraling, lashing out, yearning for death. Every day is the same. So in the middle of the night, in that dim hotel room, Idy awakes, right beside Hina. Without saying anything more, she succumbs. To who? To what? The guilt of it all. Do what you want with me, like I've done with you. How do you think something becomes eternal? I think the moment something ends is when it starts being eternal. It must be so agonizing to live your life while constantly wondering when the end will come. Hina, what do you make us eternal? The hurt from Idy's betrayal of everything they'd done together, the pain of not being able to truly have Idy all to herself, the bittersweet feeling of only being needed by her when it was convenient. Watching her breakdown was painful. A mix of love and hate that was there the entire time, even if subconsciously overwhelms Hina. And before she knows it, as her mind blanks out, Idy is deceased. But she needs to follow her request, to make both of them eternal. So she carries her body through the snow until she can't anymore. And right there, in the coldness of the snow, the two lay. This time with Hina reaching her hand out and Idy not being able to return. Forever becoming eternal. You know, I really didn't want to make this video. Though I love this story, I didn't want to. I don't know how it is for you guys who have already read this or for you guys who are watching this for the first time through this video, but this ending is always difficult to consume. And don't get me wrong, I'm used to stories where characters die left and right, but the evolution of events in this series was always so painful to witness. Idy's breakdown, Idy's depersonalization, Hina's control, Hina's hate. At every corner, it's so painful. I genuinely got sick multiple times making this video, but I'm still doing it. Not because I want to, but because I love this story. In one of my comments on this manga 2 years ago, when I read this for the first time, I told people to avoid this, that it was weird, fetish content. And while the story to a certain degree is that, it's something so much deeper. It's something that you really can't judge without seeing. This is a story about fragmented girls in a fragmented world. The harshest thing about this story is that it isn't set in some fantasy. Hina and Idy don't have powers. Though exaggerated in some aspects, this can be and likely is the reality for a lot of people. Manipulation is a real thing, and when exposed to so much of it, of course you get corrupted. Of course you lose yourself too. This is something that can happen to anyone. A love that deep, paired with manipulation, this isn't fabricated, this is real. And while I know that this ending is a mixed bag for many people, for me, I personally love it. In my eyes, it not only fits the developments, but even the growing shift in tone of the latter half of the story. Idy is a character that the story doesn't outright want you to forgive. She's a dangerous girl who becomes more and more impulsive until the end, but at the same time, the story doesn't want you to fully hate her. She has her moments where, through the mist, she is able to acknowledge what she's done, even if it is too late. The same can be said for Hina. The story doesn't necessarily want you to pity her, nor does it want you to hate her. She's a girl that was ruined by love a little too deep, even for herself. Every act that she did was born of love, no matter how sick or twisted. Following Idy's wishes was an act of love. Making Idy hers through manipulation or concrete lies was an act of love. Running away with Idy was an act of love. Ending Idy's life was an act of love. Becoming eternal was an act of love. Depending on the circumstances, love can be a very scary thing. When you want someone, you'll act in ways you didn't even know was possible. In more ways than one, it can evolve into a true horror. But at the same time, it's beautiful. I know that I didn't quite cover everything about this manga, but as it stands with what we covered in this video is already probably pushing 30 minutes long, so I just couldn't for the sake of time, you know. But I really hope you all enjoyed this video. This has been a video I've wanted to make for the last 2 years, so I'm really glad that you guys requested this, and I really hope that this video lives up to your expectations. Making this video was difficult, the editing process was tedious, and I severely underestimated how much I wanted to cover in this video. But nonetheless, I hope you all enjoyed. Thank you all so much for watching. If you haven't already, please be sure to like and subscribe. I make a lot of content like this, I always have, from Yuri to Call of the Night to random manga requested by you guys. I cover everything. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.